But let's pause and answer some questions from the audience so that we keep the questions rolling. What do we got?
All right, we've got two questions so far. One being, Ed, you had said that you don't like pages in a deck with superimposed photos in the background. What would you do instead if you're not a graphic designer?
Well, first of all, getting to graphic design is so much easier these days. You'd be amazed. I've tested this out. Spent $50 for graphics on a pitch deck on Upwork or Fiverr, I think it was. Jen, you participated in some of these we tested, and the results were fine. It's all the branding and that crazy stuff that you just don't need to spend money on, in my opinion, in the future. And on top of which, for me, when people over design their decks because they're trying to get tricky and show how impressive they are, that's when I start to have a major issue. If you think about it from this standpoint. This lends itself to CPG, and Becca, I'd be curious your thoughts on it. But there was this time where advertising was all about a picture is worth 1,000 words, and people came out with ads that were just gloriously designed and all these things. And there's a space for that. But then this whole realm of direct response advertising came up. I remember in the early stages when I was helping startups and my own businesses, I would take out these advertorials that had no images, and it looked like an article, and there was a massive headline. Like your windows could be costing you, $30,000 a year in lost heating and, et cetera. And it would perform great. And there was no graphic design involved. And it's the same principle that I apply with pitch decks. I'd rather see a really smart pitch deck with compelling headlines and the information organized so I can read it with minimal pictures than a beautiful pitch deck that's so convoluted it doesn't make sense. Becca, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that comes down to personal preference, and you're looking at a lot of pitch decks, and you probably are looking to just, get right into the meat of it and understand, is this clear? Is this conveying the business well? I think for some brands and some companies, I like the aesthetic flair. I like seeing something that's a little more creative, but it can't be difficult to figure out what the business is all about, and that's striking that balance. And the reality is, if you're raising, you don't know what your investors are necessarily looking for, and you might catch them at a bad moment where they've got fatigue from looking at really creative pitches and they see yours that's a little more on the text heavy and they think, wow, this is great. You just don't know, and you can't really control that. I like to see a little bit of a combination, nothing too extreme either way. But I agree, if it's too graphically oriented, I don't understand it. I don't get it.
It's like the Goldilocks principle. You just need to get it just right. But I also can make an argument from your previous world. Obviously, you're looking at startups from all different angles and different industries. But if you are a CPG company, for sure, if you are putting out something that is going to have a brand, I'd like to see some design. I'd like to be able to imagine it. I'd love to be able to say, hey, you and I have a mutual founder we've helped out. Jen, help me out. Who's my guy? Shaddy, right? Yeah. Shaddy. Yeah. Shaddy got investors attracted to him, and I tested out just showing them the cans, and everyone's like, wow, that's a nice design on a can. And his pitch decks were branded properly because it's a CPG company, so you want to put that brand out there. And let me tell you, it doesn't cost a lot of money. You'd be amazed what you can get for very little money out there if you have the proper elements and you're not pushing a graphic designer, making them do, all sorts of crazy things. That's what I think. Who do you use for graphic design and all that stuff?
I have a couple freelancers that I'll go to if it's a big project. Otherwise, I, use Canva and some of the AI generated tools. I just think those are great. Adobe.
Yeah, I use AI. That's my first go-to now. Is if I could just get it done with AI, then it's great. I just did a book cover and I just edited it and nobody could tell, right? Because I was good at prompting. I'm better at prompting than I am at designing, so that's a good thing. All right, next question, Jen.
All right, next question is, the startups formula says to research prospective investors, filter, reach out, present. What are your feelings regarding pitch events?
Ooh, pitch events. What do you think, Becca?
I like them. You've got to manage your expectations. We can be allured when we get messaging from the organizers, oh, we're going to have 200 investors in one room and you're going to get to pitch them. Well, that's usually not the case. Maybe there are 50 investors and the rest are just sort of plus ones or fillers. And those people are great and maybe fans and influencers. But I think you just manage your expectations. Always go into those events, whether you're doing a one-on-one pitch or a 200-person pitch. You want to just be consistent. And again, go back to that conviction, that passion. You want to have that energy. But I think that don't go into those events expecting you're going to get $1 million check out of them.
For sure. Pitch practices for me are really great networking and practice opportunities, but I've never seen someone actually get money out of a pitch competition unless it's been set up for a long period of time. Like if you think about it, a pitch competition like Shark Tank, like you've been on, has been set up, but they're mostly really produced. Here's a dirty little secret. I know investors who put on, quote, pitch competitions for PR, but the results are a foregone conclusion. They already know who they're going to award, and they just act like it, and they make the people do it so that they attract more deal flow. If I'm in a room and I'm an investor and I'm surrounded by 200 other investors. Now, if you're at Y Combinator, that's a private pitch competition. But if it's a public thing, just to get the word out there, spread a brand, and I'm an investor sitting there, I'm not looking for deal flow there because I don't want to have to compete with 200 other investors. If indeed there are 200 other investors in that room, my deals will come from, hey, maybe I'll meet somebody and I'll get some referrals, and I want to look in the long tail because I'm looking for that diamond in the rough because that's how I'm going to make money. At the same time, founders can go to pitch competitions and they network with people that they won't pitch to, but someone at the pitch competition knows an investor and they set up a private meeting. I've seen that work out before. So I would say Becca's absolutely right. Manage your expectations.